Hi guys. So today we will discuss about NAT gateway. In the last video, I explained about the internet gateway. So we'll quickly go into definition. So a NAT gateway in AWS is a service that allows instances in a private subnet to connect to the internet or other AWS services while preventing incoming internet connection from accessing those instances directly. It's useful for securing your resources, like while still providing them with the access to the internet for things like updates, downloads, or reaching the external service. So if you see here, there is a in our AWS, we have our virtual private cloud. Okay, so in which if see, we have two subnet here. Consider this might be a public subnet. Okay, actually this is a private subnet. So this is a private subnet. Okay. So here in the private subnet, right? So we have any instance or database, anything being installed. Okay. So if that instance or database need to use the internet, okay. So usually if you see in the public subnet, what happens if there is any instance, via internet gateway, we can download anything or okay for inbound and outbound. But in the private subnet, right? So we will take the help of NAT gateway to access the internet in simple. Okay. So in detail, I will explain you. Okay. Here you can see as the diagram shows, here we have public subnet. Okay. And here we have private subnet. So here we have one database server. For example, if this database server, okay, want to download from internet, like for any patch or for example, any instance we have here in the public subnet, it want to download any operating system. Just consider, okay. So what happens? The request goes to the router first, okay. So what the router will tell, custom route table, it tells that okay, internet gateway ID that is 0.0.0/0. So what happens? This router will goes to the NAT gateway. Okay. So this NAT gateway, what it will do is, so this will connect to the internet gateway. Okay. So as we seen in the last video, so this gateway will connect to the internet. So this is how it works. So if we are using private subnet, right? If we want to connect to the internet, so we use NAT gateway, which we set that NAT gateway in the public subnet. Okay. So hope I believe that you got an understanding about this NAT gateway. Okay. So we'll see some features of NAT gateway. Okay. The first feature says that outbound internal access for private subnet. So instances in a private subnet where there is no direct access to the internet can use a NAT gateway to initiate connection to the internet. If you see, initiate connection to the internet, instances in the private subnet, as I told you, where there is no direct access to the internet. Okay. So usually in the private subnet, if you want to connect to the internet, there will be no direct access. Okay, in general. But there is a way that using NAT gateway we can connect to the internet. Okay. So that is what explained in this point. The next point says, however, it blocks any incoming request from the internet, keeping the instance hidden and secure. So, okay. So we'll go. Next point says automatic scaling. Okay. So NAND gateway automatically scales to handle the bandwidth required, which ensures smooth traffic flow without manual intervention. This scalability is essential for handling large workloads and varying traffic loads. So what happens, so if it is like this NAT gateway automatically scale, okay, to handle the bandwidth required. For example, if which ensures smooth traffic flow, okay, if there is a huge traffic, this NAT gateway will automatically scale it to handle the bandwidth required, internet required. Okay, when it says that bandwidth required, so it automatically scales to handle the internet required. Okay, whenever there is an high traffic. Okay, so that is what mean automatic scaling. Okay, so high availability. Next, the point says that AWS NAT gateway are highly available within an availability zone to ensure availability across multiple zones. You can create a separate gateway in each availability zone, which means, see, AWS NAT gateway are highly available within an available zones to ensure availability across multiple availability zones. Okay. So next point says the managed service. Okay. So NAT gateway are fully managed by AWS, meaning you don't need to manage servers, perform software update, or configure network setting. AWS handles all maintenance and operational tasks for you. So here you no need to do anything, as a user. So AWS will handles all the maintenance and operation tasks for you, like managing servers, perform software updates, or configure network settings. Okay. So next point is elastic IP support. So, in the earlier video I told elastic, it's a static IP address. Okay. So here you assign an elastic IP to a NAT gateway, which is a static IP address. So that enables instance communicate with the internet using a fixed public IP address. So what it says is you assign an elastic IP to a NAT gateway. You first, what you'll do, you'll assign an elastic IP to NAT gateway, which is a static IP. Okay. Static IP means it's a one IP address, a constant IP address, which doesn't change. Okay. That enables instances to communicate with the internet using a fixed public IP address. Okay. So, so using this IP address, that will enable instances, for example, if there is like instances, many instances to communicate within the internet using a fixed public IP address. Okay. So now we will see how the NAT gateway works. So when an instance in a private subnet need to access the internet, it routes its traffic to the NAT gateway. For example, as I told, when an instance, it want to download something, or like what happens, the private subnet need to access the internet. It routes its traffic to the NAT gateway. Okay. For example, if a public subnet need an internet, so what it will do, the public subnet, it will route the traffic, that whatever the traffic it's incoming and outgoing traffic, right? That it will route to the NAT gateway. Yeah. So the NAT gateway then translates the public address of the instance to its elastic IP address, okay, allowing it to connect to the internet. So what about this point is the NAT gateway then translates private IP address. Okay, what happens in the private means private subnet has a private IP address, right? So this NAT gateway, what it does is this private address of the instance, whatever it's there, right? So will translates that into a elastic IP address. See, elastic IP address means it also on public IP address. Okay, so with with public only we can access the internet, isn't it? So with this elastic IP address, which allow it to connect to the internet. That is what it is explained in this point. Okay. So next point, what it says is incoming responses from the internet are translated back to the private IP ad- IP and forward to it. So, for example, I connect to the internet, okay, from the instance, requesting something from the internet. Okay, so what happens? The internet provides the service. Okay, so this flow, right, the data, for example, incoming responses, whatever coming from the internet are translated back to the instance's private IP. Okay, so it's here is private to public happens. So it reverse when the data, I mean, incoming response comes back, right? So what happens? Public to private IP. It will, okay. It translates back to instance private IP and forward to it. It's like reverse, okay. For example, okay, suppose you have an application that needs to download software updates or access an API on the internet, but you don't want to expose it directly to the internet. Okay. So what you do, you place it in the private subnet and use an NAT gateway. Okay. So you use that instance in a private subnet and you use a NAT gateway to connect to the internet. The instance can then reach the internet securely, while the NAT gateway prevents any unsolicited traffic from reaching it. Okay. So hope you understand this. Comparison with internet gateway. Okay, we'll see. NAT gateway, I told you that it's used for private subnets that need outbound only internet access. No inbound traffic is allowed from the internet. Okay. If you not sure about this outbound and inbound traffic, right? So in my previous videos, I explained you thoroughly what is this outbound and inbound. So you can check once. Then we'll see this internet gateway. So used for public subnets where instances need both inbound and outbound internet access. Okay, so in this internet gateway, if suppose if I'm using internet gateway, here it supports both inbound and outbound. Incoming traffic, also outgoing traffic. Yeah, it supports. In that gateway, it's not like that. No inbound traffic is allowed from the internet. Okay, only outbound traffic, not inbound traffic. Okay, so in general, okay, a NAT gateway provides a secure way for private subnet resources to access the internet for outgoing request without exposing them to incoming internet traffic, which helps maintain a secure network internet. In simple, okay, we have an NAT gateway which provides a secure way for private subnet resources. What is private subnet? Which is very virtual, which don't have access to the internet. Okay, if we want to access the internet, what we do? We will for outgoing request. Okay, outgoing request means from instance or from your subnet, some request you are making to the internet. Okay, but still you have to, since it is private, we have to secure it. What we do without exposing this resources, what we do, we put that in a private subnet and we use one NAT gateway that we will put in a public subnet. So we connect this private subnet to public subnet to NAT gateway. So as we know already, the public subnet can do both incoming and outgoing traffic, inbound and outbound. So there we will place the NAT gateway. The NAT gateway, what it will do, it will connect to the internet gateway. So the internet gateway will connect to the internet world. So that is how we will establish a connection. So this is all about NAT gateway. I think I explained as much as I can. So in next video, we will see different concepts of topic from VPC networking and content delivery. Thank you.